Beautiful. All right, guys, good evening and welcome to our incredible momentum session this evening by ISIC Help International. We are so excited about this evening, and I just want to give you guys a quick background. We are a group of professionals, mental health professionals, counselors, coaches, therapists that comes together on a Wednesday evening, and we upgrade our skills to become better at what we do. And if you know of anybody out there that is looking for help and assistance, you're more than welcome to reach out to them. And part of that personal development program that we've got in place to help mental health professionals is this platform called Momentum on a Thursday evening, which is open to members of the public, friends, family, anybody that you know that is interested in elevating their life. Maybe they're going through a bit of a tough time. They need some inspiration. Maybe they need to learn some new skills. Maybe they know they need to pivot in a different direction, but they just don't have the courage to do it. We want you to please invite them to come along and to join our Momentum group, because here we allow our professionals to find their voice, to share their message, to bring their message of hope and inspiration to all of us. So this is a very special place. This is a very secret place. We want you to feel comfortable here. We want you to ask questions. We want you to engage with us. We want you to have as much fun as possible. And we want you to take something out of this evening so that you can invest that in the next week that lays ahead. So I'm super excited. Again, want to say welcome to everybody. If this is your first time this evening, we want to welcome you. We want to hear from you. And we salute you for being here this evening. So thank you very much for joining us. Right. So guys, we have a very special lady and a very special guest here this evening. And I know the first time that I reached out to her and I said to her, listen, we want to hear your story. We want to hear what it was like. We want to embrace everything that you've learned. We want to hear all those little nuggets. You know, we never had the opportunity to meet the man and shake his hand, and you were around him all the time. So some of his magic must have rubbed up on you. And truly, in the time that I got to know this incredible human, there is certainly a lot that was rubbed off on her, but I know that she's got a special voice and a special message for all of us, just the way she can deliver it. Absolutely, totally unique. And this evening, I want to introduce to you someone that I can actually call a great friend, someone that always shows up, always delivers, always goes the extra mile. You know, she's got all these qualifications. She's a life coach and a therapist, and she's making a difference. And, you know, she's traveled the world and she's got all these qualifications and things. But, you know, if you take all of that away, she's just a human being that has had some incredible experiences through life, that used those experiences to put her on a different path, and every time to stand up and to do it again and to do it again and to do it again. So this evening, it gives me a great pleasure. And I want you guys to really make some noise, lots of confetti, lots of hands, please. Let's get it going. All right, my good friend, Gerda Evans. Good evening, Gerda.
Hello, Gideon. Thank you. It's with great humbleness that I accepted this offer. And so I'm here today to tell you a small little story that I think is part of a very historic time in our lives. And I'm going to start tonight by asking you a question. If you remember this quote, and the quote is as follows, and I would like you all to put in the message box, where do you think this quote comes from? I have walked the long walk to freedom. I've tried not to falter. I've made missteps along the way, but I have discovered the secret that after climbing one great hill, only to find there are many more hills to climb after that, I've taken a moment here to rest, to steal a view of the glorious vistas that surround me, and to look back on the distance I have come. I can only rest for a moment, for with freedom comes responsibility, and I dare not linger, for my long walk is not ended.
Wow.
From which book is that? I'm sure you all know it's from his famous book, The Long Walk to Freedom. And I think all of us here tonight see ourselves in this quote. The struggle to climb hill after hill, to tackle a big obstacle only to find out there's one more after that. But then instead of chasing hill after hill, to rather decide to take a moment to enjoy our successes while we look back on how far we came. But also, very important, not to linger too much, to take that responsibility to make a difference.
Sure. Yeah, Gerda, that is such incredible words. And every time I listen to something that he wrote, and the words that he shares with all of us. Fortunately, there was an opportunity for him to put all those thoughts and all those things down on paper so that we can actually relive them and hold on to them. So it's amazing. It just reminded me of a book I recently read about the gap in the game. And I think this applies 100% to that. So if I can just quickly share what that book is all about. It's about we as humans, we actually always we look at what we don't have instead of looking at how far we have come. And I remember reading that book, and then I was like, but this is actually Nelson Mandela's thoughts that someone took and just repackaged into a different format.
Yeah.
You know? So
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, but it's just it just reminds us that I think the world and our life and our personal struggle is hill after hill, and we have to tackle them, but also take a moment to look at all the journey we have done. But then again, I would like to also tonight make a quick disclaimer here. My life in the shadow of Madiba was shared by many other people, some very famous today. They all have documented and published their journey with him. My version tonight is only my own experience and my personal insight. It is a journey that really shaped me and molded me and made me the person I am today. Not only where I am, but also in helping people and solving their problems and just making their lives a little bit easier, but also helping myself in becoming a better person. Wow. So tonight, I have the opportunity to speak absolutely from my heart and share a few lessons that was taught to me whilst having the opportunity to move in the shadow. And it was such a great privilege to move in that shadow. And maybe everyone in the group knows me. I think we are 49 people here. There's a lot of my personal friends here. There's a lot of my colleagues. So I'm not even going to start with my introduction the way that PG taught me. I had to do this over and over and over. But basically, this is who I am, Gerda Evans. I'm a life coach, therapist, a counselor, and with a background in trauma. But more important, I'm also a widow who experienced great loss. I experienced great adversity in life, but I also found some companionship and a new meaning to life. I'm a mother of two lovely, accomplished ladies, and I know there's a lot of you who are the same as me, a granny. I just became a granny of a brand new little baby girl, and she is, I think, 10 or 11 weeks old. So happiness. Okay, but at this moment, I find myself in a totally different season of my life. It is a season that is far from where I'm really far removed from my children and my grandchildren. It is also a season where I needed to find new meaning and purpose in my own life, to find inner happiness and peace. I see my life as a three-legged pot, and all three legs have to stand firmly on the ground. Otherwise, you can't cook magnificent dishes. And what are those three legs, Gideon? We learned about them many, many times over, but for the sake of all my friends that's here, it's health, wealth, and relationships. And so important, relationships not only with yourself, but with the other people around you, your family, your colleagues, and your friends. My previous life, which I really loved at the time, is now only a distant memory. There's no more first class flights. I have to save for my flight to go and visit my children. There's no more state banquets. There's no more state visits. And curtsies to the Queen and handshakes to presidents, and no more mingling with famous personalities. Now it's just me on my own with my circle of loving and supportive friends and my community, which I found both in the church and other forums, and I tap into them regularly.
Sure.
I don't really like talking about myself, but maybe just to give this a bit of context where my association came from, I think it's quite important maybe to give you context. I started in my life as a diplomat at a very young age and fresh out of university. I had a big love for Africa, and my degree in economics got me a posting to the development section in Africa, where I did projects. And I traveled far and wide in Africa and visited many countries, taking charge of development projects all over Africa. Africa's in my blood, and I just loved it. So that's why I then asked for a posting to war-torn Mozambique. And I arrived in Mozambique, I think it was 2 weeks after the president of that country, President Samora Machel's aeroplane crashed. And there was big turmoil in the country. And I never actually knew that 25, 30 years later, I will be traveling with his widow, who was then the wife of Madiba, Graça Machel.
Sure.
So it was a completely different era that I was there. It was going from the old to the new. And it was in this time that I met my husband, Gerda Evans, whilst on a posting as a diplomat in Mozambique. He was also in the department. A few years after our marriage, my husband was then appointed as Director General of the old Foreign Affairs, which is now called DIRCO, Department of International Relations. It was the early 1990s, and our country was going through quite a nerve-wracking time. For us, the civil servants, it was nerve-wracking. For the rest of the country, it was very exciting. Rusty and I was really in the midst of the transition from the old to the new. The inauguration of Mr. Mandela, which was a very, very auspicious occasion. But this is a story for another day with a lot of little stories around that, because we did the whole inauguration and the whole world descended on us and wanted to be on this invitation list. We had just a little story there. We had 3-4 tents. We had the VVIPs, which was the presidents. We had the VIPs, which was the ministers. And then we had just the normal, and that was all the heads of government, big companies. So it was like everyone just wanted a piece of Mandela that day. But it was a very, very historic day, and it went off very smoothly. So straight after that, Madiba took office, and he needed to get his own government in place. And remember, it was a government of national unity. He appointed his ministers, and it was business as usual. So it was full in action. But within weeks, Madiba had to appoint his own office, and there he appointed Professor Jakes Gerwel as the Director General and Virginia as his PA. And in the beginning years, this was Madiba's team. So Jakes was from the university in Cape Town. It was UWC. They called him, he was a rector there. And he was then called to be serving in Mr. Mandela's office. Already then, we saw that Mr. Mandela, with his charismatic behavior, his reconciliatory approach, the mood in the country changed. There was a sense of inclusion and not exclusion. And we all, the civil servants of this country, had a big sigh of relief because we were basically part of the old guard. But Madiba led with love, humility, and compassion. A true example, really, of a leader. Who else would come out of jail for many, many years and work with the same people in the system that kept him locked up? He became a hero overnight, and soon we were swamped with invitations by all countries for state visits. Everyone was fighting just to have a piece of Madiba, and it was really becoming quite a problem. We needed to be strategic about it, who to visit and where to visit, and who first and who last, because there was a big fight about who actually really wanted him in their country first. It was almost a sign of superiority to have Madiba coming there first. So whilst everyone was working on the strategy, it became clear that Madiba needed someone by his side with international and political experience. And this is how my late husband became an integral part of Madiba's team. Soon after, of course, you know, being Madiba and being the wonderful, charismatic person, I was also invited on several of those trips and became part of his entourage. So for the next couple of years, I spent many hours during lunches, dinners, private charters, state visits in the company of our beloved president. And it was such an honor and a privilege that I would hold absolutely dear to my heart until the day I die. I remember thinking to myself, Gideon, that on several occasions while I was sitting with him in the aeroplane, I need to remember this because this is a really historic time. And I have a small little share of this man, and I will cherish it for the rest of my life.
Wow. Sure.
Yeah. So
that's very, very special, Gerda. You know, what you're saying there is so true, because sometimes we find ourselves in a situation and we don't always appreciate every single thing that happens to us. We just want to embrace the good, and sometimes, you know, we go into a tough time, and we also need to remember that there's a lesson in that as well. So I love you said that, because you remembered it. Actually, you were actually in the moment, living the moment. Wow.
Yeah, I was very young still, but I knew that this was such a historic time, and it is such a privilege. I mean, you know, there's so many dear stories, and I will start now telling a few of the little lovely stories of you know, what happened in our time. And this is, thank you, Gideon, why I compiled this 8 life lessons that I've learned from him, and that I would love as mental health professionals also to take something off. And I'm going to ask Gideon to help me here and just to add on a little bit. But the first lesson is a lesson of compassion and empathy that build bridges. Mandela had the extraordinary ability to understand other people's perspectives, and even those who opposed him. I watched him connect with people from all walks of life, from rural communities to global forums, by listening deeply and acknowledging their humanity. This empathy dismantled barriers and built trust. And specifically in the industry that I'm moving now, we know the power of empathy and how it transforms relationships. We know how important it is to show compassion and empathy in every situation we might find ourselves. And here I have a lovely little story, and I might add that I don't think anyone really knows about this, because there were 3 of us there, and the story never actually came out. But just to show you the humility and the compassion of a true world leader, we were invited to a state visit in France. It was 14th of July. You know, it's in Europe. It is very, very hot at that time. And Madiba had a very set routine, and he was very punctual. He really didn't suffer fools who's late. He, on many occasions, just left a state president there because he was half an hour late. He really kept to his schedule, and he kept to his promises. And we had a very busy day on that particular day. It was a long day. It was VIP guests celebrating Bastille Day with President Jacques Chirac, who was the president at the time. It was spectacular parades of 7,000 soldiers, airmen, sailors, and fire brigade, all in a spectacular flyover of military aircraft. When it ended, I think it was a little bit later in the afternoon, we were all very tired. And Rusty, my late husband, and his friend and colleague, Professor Jakes Gervel, who we just lovingly call Prof or Jakes, made sure that Madiba went to bed early. He was an early bird. He really didn't like going to bed at much later. Although Gaddafi kept him up one night until 11 o'clock, and he did it. But that was one of the few times that I knew that he went to bed quite late. So Rusty, myself, and Jakes then sat in our room in the very nice Élysée Hotel in Paris while Madiba went to bed, and there was a phone call. Now, the phone rings. It's one of these lines that connect the rooms. And it was Madiba on the other side, and he said to Rusty and Jakes, "Please come and help me quickly." And we had this big moment of panic because we thought he might have had a health issue, he might have fell. So Rusty and Jake rushed up to the presidential suite. So when they arrived at the room a half an hour later, they came back with the story that they told me. And they told me that due to the hot summer's night, Madiba opened his window and a swarm of bugs accumulated in his presidential suite, right above his headboard. And he didn't want to sleep with all these bugs near him. So he called Rusty and Jakes to please help him to remove his mattress and put it on the floor so he can sleep away from the bugs. Rusty and Jakes was a bit flabbergasted and said to him, "But Madiba, you know, you are the head of state and you have security. So please, let's just call them and sort it out." He was very adamant and he said not to contact any security as it will embarrass his hosts. Well, it meant the next morning, Rusty and Jakes had to get up at 6 o'clock and went up and put our state president's mattress back on his bed, and no one knew about what happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it shows his ability and
the kind of person that he was. Sorry, I interrupt you there. Please carry on.
No, you carry on.
And I want to actually add on to that story that you just told there. Years ago when I was still at school, there was a quote up in one of my teachers' classrooms. Now, this gentleman actually taught me how to work with my hands. He taught me the skills to work with my hands and taught me how to, do woodwork and to make everything. And he had a chessboard up on the front of his classroom. And right next to the chessboard, now this were the only two things that he had in the classroom. And back then, when I was at school, that's like, 35 years ago, all the classrooms were like, they were like they were teaching aids. I mean, everything on the walls were, part of the lessons, and it was made up special. But in this specific gentleman's room or classroom, there was only a chessboard, a picture of a chessboard, and there was these words. It was actually written in Afrikaans, and I'll never forget it, but I've translated it into English. It says, in Afrikaans, it says, "Eer jou meerdere, dit is jou plig. Eer jou mindere, dit is jou voorreg." So, translated into English, it says, "Honor your superior, it is your duty. Honor your subordinate, it is your privilege." And sure, when I was just listening to that story now, it really rings true, because many, many years I got that lesson, and who knows where Madiba got that from and where he decided to have that empathy and that level of awareness that he doesn't want anybody to be embarrassed. Putting himself in a situation where he was discomfort. Wow, unbelievable.
Yeah. No, it is really, and like I said, I don't think a lot of people know about the story, because he was really very adamant to respect his hosts and keep everything quiet.
Wow.
So if I move on to lesson number 2, and this is to never give up. It always seems impossible until it's done. And here again, Madiba's perseverance in the face of adversity is a powerful reminder that with determination and hard work, we can achieve our goals. And this is what we've been taught every day as well, that we in the helping industry sometimes see a situation as impossible. By just tackling it and work through it step by step, we see the progress and we see the light. And then just one day it's done and our journey is completed. And it just serves as a reminder to approach an issue, any issue in our life, with determination and courage. And rather to give into hopelessness, to just tackle it head on with perseverance. And I know for a fact in the beginning years, on these long haul flights that we kept Madiba company, that he would get very nervous at the prospect of the outside world and his status in the outside world and how to tackle it. But because he never saw himself as a superhero. And he always said to me, Gerda, it always seems impossible until it's done. And I will never forget that.
Sure. Valuable.
Yeah. So the third lesson that I've learned from this wonderful man is courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is acting despite fear. And Madiba often said that he wasn't fearless. He felt the fear but acted anyway. I saw his courage in his willingness to face criticism, to take risks for peace, and to stand firm in his principles. His example reminds us that courage isn't the absence of fear, but it's the determination to move forward despite your fear. And this is so powerful for everyone in our own lives, to take that bold steps towards our goals, not to waste time, and as time is precious, and to confront and overcome our fears and build resilience.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely amazing, Gerda. If I can quickly bring it back to what we do on a daily basis, we help people to step out of that comfort zone, moving out of that area where, we basically push them because we know their mind and their thoughts and their actions and their habits is keeping them in the warm and fuzzy place. And it's actually where nothing happens. Nothing changes in that warm and fuzzy space. Nothing happens in your familiar zone. There where you're comfortable, you don't grow. And we can, link that to what was said about courage. It's about putting your foot outside that comfort zone and doing something that you would not normally do. And, I want to acknowledge you this evening by saying, we are all nervous sometimes when we have to do something. But I also want everybody to remember on the call this evening, right before Gerda and I had to come onto this platform, there was a little bit of nerves, okay?
Big time.
When you have to do something really great and really magnificent, nerves is there to remind you that you are alive and that you're about something that's really, really special. So, Gerda, thank you very much. This lesson 3 applies to so many things in our life. Thank you.
Absolutely. And it's that moving out of your comfort zone that builds the resilience. Thank you, Gideon. So lesson number 4 is my personal favorite, and that is forgiveness. And forgiveness is liberating. Forgiveness liberates the soul. It removes fear. And Mandela's commitment to forgiveness and reconciliation showed us that letting go of past hurts can be a powerful tool for healing and growth. And this is a concept that is so important in our everyday lives, is to really forgive and to move on. But sometimes it's so difficult. But if you've made that decision to actually forgive, for us, it takes years. But he further also taught me that forgiveness is not about excusing or condoning the harm that is done to you, but it's about freeing yourself from the burden. Forgiveness is almost a self-centered act. It's for yourself to free yourself to be free and light. And after many years in incarceration, Madiba emerged without bitterness, choosing reconciliation over revenge to unite a divided nation. I personally witnessed his ability to engage with former adversaries with genuine respect, showing them that forgiveness is the most powerful tool, and it's an act of strength that creates a space for healing and progress. And for us in the mental health industry, we can see how forgiveness is a path to personal liberation and also for other people. And here I have another little story, which you will also like. And it's Madiba loved all his friends. He was part of the Rainbow Nation, and all his friends were from all walks of life. But he had a great love in a very specific way for the Afrikaner nation. And he had several, as you know, all know, he had several interactions with his jailers, and they became good friends of his. And Johannes, your ding is on. Anyway, so when Madiba, you know, remember I told you that it was Jakes who was his Director General in his office, and then it was Virginia. And Virginia then became very ill, and she had to leave his office, and they started looking for a substitute for Virginia. And then he went on, he called in and asked Jakes and Rusty, he specifically wants an Afrikaans lady, and as that is what he wanted now next to his side. He showed in these acts how liberating forgiveness can be. And one morning, and sadly, Virginia passed away, and it was a very specific thing that he asked to have a white Afrikaans lady next to him. And that's how his journey started with Zelda, and it was documented. And he really loved her, and it was a wonderful journey that the two of them had together.
Sure. Wow.
Yeah.
No, what Gerda, it's so true what you're saying, yeah. And a few months ago, or not a few months ago, about 2 years ago, I started a new journey for myself, having had my challenges in my own personal life. And I came to the realization that I was holding on to so many things that was actually hurting me. And I'll never forget this one morning, Pierre actually told me, he said to me, listen, I want you to write this down. Do you have a pen and paper? And I said, yes, I've got a pen and paper. And he said, no, I want to make sure, do you have a pen and paper? I said, no, I've got a pen and paper. Shoot, what do I need to write down? He said, forgive yourself. And
that is so true. Yeah.
Unbelievable. I wrote it down. It's still on my desk here. Look here.
Yeah.
Forgive yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
And, you know, we all make mistakes. We all go through things in life. But that, what you are saying there, forgiveness is liberating. Forgive everybody. I had people that did me wrong many years ago. I went through this 21-day results challenge with Pierre as well. I picked up the telephone, I phoned all of them, sent them more messages, wrote them more letters. It is so liberating. It puts a smile on my face just thinking about it. So this is absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on.
Yeah, it's just, and you know, to see it in action is also so humbling. So yes, thank you for that, Gideon. Lesson number 5. Of the 8 lessons is resilience. And resilience is built through purpose. Mandela's ability to endure unimaginable hardship came from his unwavering commitment to justice and equality. And during our travels, I saw how this purpose fueled his energy, even in challenging times. The greatest glory in living lies not in never failing or falling, but in rising every time we fall. And Mandela's life demonstrates that setbacks and failures are inevitable, but it's how we respond to them that matters. This lesson can help us all in a most profound way. So resilience is really, what is the definition of actually resilience, Gideon? It's just jumping back, and it's not how slow you do it. It's just how many times you do it. Eh?
Absolutely. Well, I think everybody's got their own definition of that. So why don't we ask the group to actually put their thoughts in the chat box at the bottom? Let's see. What do you think is resilience? What does resilience mean to you? Put a one-word special in there. Give us one word what you think is resilience or what it means to you. Because resilience can be, it can mean so many different things. It can mean something maybe in your health. It could mean one thing, and maybe in your wealth it could mean something else. In your relationships, it could mean something else. So what does resilience mean to you? Right. Dudu says the ability to bounce back. Right. Red says that's the big one. Right. Stigma to keep going no matter what. Stamina. Must be stamina. Stamina to keep going no matter what. Perseverance. Yes. Falling down, getting up again. Every time. Yes. Resilience, the strength to press on no matter what. Yes, I like that. Come back stronger. Yes, that is what resilience means to me as well, you know. So get up every morning, and then instead of repeating yesterday, just try and improve by 1% today, okay? Johannes says, Afrikaans is veerkrachtig, bounce back. Yes. Getting back up no matter how hard it is, says Susan Whittaker. Susan, you know all about it. You know, every morning you just keep getting up and you just keep on going and you just do it again. Ashraf says perseverance. Loretta says the ability to push through. How true is that? Sammy says, I wrote a book on resilience. Sammy, you need to reach out to me. You need to reach out to me. This is amazing. Yes.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Kelly Jean says the ability to withstand struggles, gracefully persevere through hardships and come out stronger on the other side. Yes. You know, I was helping Gerda this afternoon with the slides, and I saw this picture, and I thought to myself, and I looked at this picture, and I stared at this picture for about 5 minutes. And it's a lot smaller, or it's, you know, I've made it a lot bigger, but if you look at where this picture comes from, you'll see that this flower stands in the middle of the desert. This flower got maybe
very resilient.
And it had that resilience to ground itself and to go. All right. Absolutely magic. So let's just read a few more, Gerda. Daniel says the ability to shift focus back to your goal in the face of hardships. Lisa says the capacity to withstand or to recover quickly from difficulties or toughness, the remarkable resilience of so many institutions. Okay, my apologies if I bungled that one. Just keep swimming. Yeah, swim, Yanni, swim. Okay, swim, Johannes, swim. Adaptability, says Ricky. Absolutely. And I think if we can summarize this, it's not how many times you fall, it's about how many times you get up.
Times you get up. And that's the big thing. So thank you for that. No, we definitely. So if I would like to move on to lesson number 6. And this is also a great, I've got a little story here too. As leadership is about serving others. It leads with humility. Mandela never saw himself above others. Whether meeting world leaders or ordinary citizens, he listened intently, valued everyone's voice. And I recall moments where he'd stop to greet staff or strangers with the same warmth that he greets dignitaries. This humility made him so relatable and effective. It reminds us that true leadership isn't about titles, but about serving others with authenticity. A lesson we can store in those who we guide. And here I've got a lovely little story on a particular state visit. We went to America. Now, there was a big story about which country we had to visit first. And I'm happy to say, or I can tell you, maybe not happy or happy, but it was at the time of President Bill Clinton. And there was a state banquet. And it was a little bit into his tenure that we went to the state banquet in America. And there was a lot of people, Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, a lot of the Oprah Winfrey, everyone was there. And after all the speeches and the food was done and we were heading home, Mandela got up and he said, I would like to go to the kitchen. And that created great havoc because the security in America is big. They said, but Madiba, you can't go to the kitchen. It's a security risk. And he said, I want to go to the kitchen. He went into the kitchen because, of course, they can't say no to the president. He went into the kitchen and he greeted and thanked every cook, waiter, and kitchen worker in that kitchen personally for the food they prepared. And continuously acknowledging everyone around him. And this is not the only one. He had another time when we were in downtown New York. We were driving there and he saw all the people on the side of the road shouting and screaming his name. And he asked them to stop the car. And of course, security was again terribly upset because, you know, it's a security risk. He got out of the car, climbed over that big barriers and greeted people. It was a big headache for the security, but he just loved being between people and thanking them and greeting them. So it was such a lesson in humility that I don't think, you know, it's a big lesson to learn for all of us, I'm sure, right?
Sure. Amazing. You know, when I listen to all these lessons, Gerda, you know, I just realize I've got so much more to learn and I've got so much more to do. So I hope there's going to be enough life left for me to apply all of this that I'm learning. Thank you very much so far. This is amazing.
Yeah. Okay. So there's 2 more to go. The lesson number 7 is education. He had a passion for education and he believed in education. And he was always engaged in learning and reading and, you know, just he always was asking for funding for schools to be built. And you could see that in the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund. He had many, many schools built and he did a lot for education. I also have a little story here, which is quite funny, that I would like to maybe share with you, is that President Hosni Mubarak was at that time the head of the African Union, and Madiba was dead set on getting a school built in his area, where he comes from in the Transkei. So with a lot of, you know, toing and froing, we had a phone call arranged between President Mubarak and Madiba. And he then got onto the phone and he said to President Mubarak, can you please give me 5 million rand for a school? It was some really big amount. And you could hear the president on the other side choking a bit because it's a lot of money. And then he said, you know what, I don't have the money, but I'll ask my brother leader from Libya to give you the money. And Madiba was very happy. He said, no, thank you very much. I'll see you at my inauguration, because he was the head of the Africa division, African Union. At the time, they do rounds, you know, they take turns to become the head of the African Union. So he said to Mubarak, thank you very much. I'll see you at my inauguration. He phoned Gaddafi and he said to Gaddafi, you know, I'm so happy you're going to give me this money. And Gaddafi said, what are you talking about? So it was just a way for Mubarak to get out of this huge amount that he was asking. But Madiba was so upset and he was deeply hurt that when it was his inauguration, he refused to even greet Mubarak, you know, because he said he was not going to be treated like this. So it's a little bit of a funny story, but yeah, education was really something that it was very close to his heart. And now I'll get to the last one. And this one also has a lot of little stories, but it is lesson number 8 is to make a positive impact. And that legacy is built through small little acts. Finally, here, Mandela showed us that greatness lies in consistent small acts of kindness and integrity, whether it's a warm smile, a thoughtful gesture, or a moment of patience. He lived these values daily. These moments accumulated over time created his monumental legacy. What counts here is not the mere fact that we've lived. It is in what difference we have made to the lives of others. Mandela demonstrated that our actions have the power to make positive impact, and we can inspire people forward doing that. And my last little story that I would like to share with you, it was many, many years after my husband retired from Foreign Affairs and Madiba retired from as president. So he was staying there in Joburg, and we were on the farm at the time. So one night the phone rang, and my husband answered, and the man on the other side said, "Is that Rusty speaking?" And Rusty said, "Yes." He said, "Oh, Rusty, this is Madiba. Do you still remember me?"
Oh my goodness.
So we just wanted to say, no, of course we remember you. No, I just wanted to check how you and Gerda are. You must please come for lunch next week.
Wow.
So you know, it was just the greatness lie in the small little acts. So
Wow.
yeah, we had a good chuckle and a laugh, and of course we remembered our dear Madiba. So in a way, Madiba was a very spiritual person too. And I want to close off with this powerful quote. Take responsibility for your own life. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my ship. And I want to add this. We need to set our GPSs in and choose to live our lives the way we want and to reach the destiny we choose. We are not promised a life without storms, but we do know how to sail our ship. And thank you very much. And before I wrap up, I would like to, as a last thing, just say that a special, special thank you to the 3 musketeers in my life and in our lives, because we are a real little community. And they are PG, Marilay, and Gideon Basson from the I Seek Help International. It's not the I Seek Help, Gideon. There was a mishap, but it's from the I Seek Help International. Thank you for creating this space. Thank you for the community, and thank you for everything you do for each one of us. And if anyone wants to join us, trust me, this is the place where your life gets changed. Thank you.
Sure, Gerda, that was absolutely unbelievable. I tell you what, I'm going to rewatch this and I'm going to replay this a few times. I love these 8 lessons, but I want to hear from the audience this evening. Which one of these lessons can you relate to? Which one are you going to implement and adopt and make part of your life? So let me quickly remind you. The first lesson was compassion and empathy. The second lesson was never to give up. The third lesson was courage is not the absence of fear. The fourth one was forgiveness is liberating. The fifth one is resilience is key to success. The sixth one is leadership. Seventh one, education. And the eighth one, make a positive impact through small gestures. So let's see. Lisa says all 8. Okay, Lisa, you're a real drought sitter. I wanted to pick one. I wanted to pick one, put it into practice. All right. Natalie says courage. Susan says never give up. Yes. Ashraf says 8 out of 8. Marty says never give up. Yes. Dudu, I agree, all 8. Okay. That's so easy. Come on, guys. I need to keep you accountable from this week until next week. The USA acknowledge the empathy and education. Yes. Mama Loretta says 8. Yes, and I can already see it happening in your life. Gerard says empathy. Yes. All 8 says Lisa, it's so important. Johanna says leadership and about serving others. Absolutely. Karen Bell, never give up. Nombes Tutu, never give up. My apologies if I got your name wrong. Sammy, humility, all 8. Yes. Dorette says never give up. Kelly Jean says courage is not the absence of fear. Absolutely, I agree with you. Resilience is the key to success, to stand out. Most for me, that's Dudu. Pumzile says forgiveness. Jean says never give up. Daniel says forgiveness. Rita says forgiveness. Make a positive impact. Malat says courage. Tuki says legacy and small acts. Yes. Ashraf says leadership and serving others. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. I love that. I love that. So Sammy, you've got your hand raised. I'm sure you've got a question for Gerda, so please unmute and fire away or make a comment or give us feedback.
Hi, thank you, Gerda, for a very enlightening session. I just wanted to share my little moment with Madiba. I went to school at Waterford Kamhlaba in Swaziland.
Oh, me too. My children too, Sammy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Madiba came to visit us a lot there. And as a result, I managed to, during holidays, to go and visit his house. And, you know, one day I was at Mill Park Hospital. My brother-in-law was sick, visiting him there with my family. And then Madiba went into the hospital. I don't know who he was visiting. And he was greeting everybody. I was surprised that he recognized me. And he shook my hand. That's when I knew that, you know what, this is humility personified.
Yeah.
And maybe the question that I would like to ask maybe to Gerda is, how much of his spirituality within leadership did you rub against him? Because I knew him to be a very spiritual person, even if he did not say much about it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sammy. Thank you for that. My two daughters went to Waterford Kamhlaba, and we moved specially to Swaziland for them to go to that big school. So yes, absolutely. But you know, he was a very spiritual and a very religious person. But he was very careful because, you know, he had friends from all walks of life. He had Muslim friends, he had friends from anywhere and everywhere. So when he was in his private room or with us in the aeroplane, he would say grace, he would pray, but he was not very, and also in his house, you know, when we went to visit him. So yes, but he was very sensitive. He had a very great sensitivity not to push his spiritual legacy down people's throats.
All right. Sure. Amazing. Thank you very much, Sammy. Thanks for asking that question. Gerda, thank you very much for giving us the feedback. I see Lindiwe's got a hand raised. Lindiwe, if you want to unmute and just ask your question or make your comment, please.
Okay. Thank you, Coach G, and good evening to everyone. Ms. G, thank you very much for the insight that we had in understanding our former president of the country, how he really conducted himself. And I must say there are lessons really. And even though there are 8, you feel that all of them, they are important, but I had to pick what is really relevant for me and what I would be able to implement. Now, my question is, I mean, you're going to different countries and you're seeing different people and with different agendas. Now, on that fact, I think you would have an anticipated kind of an outcome. Now, do you have a briefing session for each and every kind of engagement that you'll be having so that you know that is how you sort of like pull a thread to one another as you are addressing whatever head of state or whatever. So I just wanted to know that because education is there as one of the traits of the attributes. So did you have a structure in all this engagement, or it was like, oh, we know this is the drill, you have a standard kind of an approach in approaching those different states? Thank you.
You know, Lindiwe, thank you for asking that question, because I have a wonderful, wonderful story there to tell also. You know, Madiba, you know, he had a big hole, although he did a lot of reading while he was in jail. When he came out, you know, for instance, Rusty, my husband, would brief him on a state visit because they have a program beforehand. And with each interaction, he would brief him. So then he would meet the ambassador from that particular country. And this is now Ghana. I can think of that particular instance. And then Madiba in the airplane would say to Rusty, "Oh, Rusty, I know the president of Ghana, it's Paul Akurot," and or something was the name, so a funny name. And then Rusty would say to him, "Yes, Madiba, he was president 30 years ago." So we would have to fill in the gap and say to him, "But the new president is this, and this is what the country looked like. This is the political dispensation." And he was always hungry to learn. But it was always funny for us how there was this gap in his in being part of society. And this is what we have to live with. But yes, there's always a program, a very specific program, and there's always a very specific brief for him. And in the case of the president of Fiji, who wanted to visit him, he came half an hour late. And Madiba was on his way out, and then the president arrived there, and he said to him, "Oh, Mr. President, thank you for arriving, but you know you're 30 minutes late, so make another appointment." And he got in his car and he left. So he didn't suffer fools who didn't honor his time. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Wow, amazing, absolutely amazing. Sure, Gerda, this has been extremely enlightening. It's been so well received this evening, and I want to thank you from the bottom of our heart for putting this talk together. And I'm sure you had the opportunity to relive some of the most amazing, magical moments in your life while you were preparing this evening. Can I get a show of hands who think Gerda did a great job in preparing? Proper planning plus preparation prevent poor performance, okay? And tonight you over-delivered, Gerda. Wow, this has been amazing. This has been absolutely amazing. So thank you. This has really been great. I just want to quickly mention a few things before we jump off. Next week, Thursday evening, we have a very special talk. We're going to have the most incredible special guest, a young lady that is really making waves in the right direction, Tuki Msiza, or Litukile, like we all know her. On the 16th of October, she's talking about parenting young minds through the intellectual revolution, with all the AI and all the screen time and everything, all the challenges we've got. She's got 2 kids. She is going through major health challenges herself, but she's bouncing back all the time, and she's always making the best of every single situation. And I cannot wait to learn from her as well. Then also on the 31st of October, Friday the 31st of October, we're going to have a special workshop on substance abuse and what is substance abuse, to see the signs, when that thin line between relaxing and relying on substances become an issue, what exactly substance abuse does to the brain, how it changes your behaviors, and that registration will go out very shortly. There's limited space available, guys. This is very first come, first serve. We only have a small group of people that can register for that. And then I want to find out who thought that tonight's presentation was simply unbelievable. Can I see a show of hands, please? Wow. Can I get some confetti going? Yes. Can I get some thumbs up, please? All right, great. So, guys, this is an extremely high standard that Gerda has set here this evening. I think it's going to be difficult to match this again in the future. So if you found value from this evening, I really want you to do me a big favor and share the invite for next week. Share the invite for your friends and family to join our platform. There's absolutely zero strings attached. This is a safe space to come and uplift yourself, to come and get a message of hope, to come and interact with other like-minded people, to get out of your environment, because the moment we get out of our normal environment, we step out of that comfort zone, we start thinking differently. The moment we think differently, our attitude is different, We put a smile on our face, even if we don't want to. We put a smile on our face. The moment our attitude is different, our actions is different, our reactions is different. And guess what? The moment we change our actions and reactions, our results is different. So if you're looking for different results, different outcome in your life, whether you want to elevate your health, your wealth, or your relationships, it starts by changing your environment. And this evening, you changed your environment. So, Gerda, from my side, I want to say 1,000,000 times thank you for doing this evening, for being open and honest, for telling us all these little nuggets. I'm pretty sure I'm going to remember your entire talk this evening because you made it so personal and you made it so detailed. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It's really appreciated. We love you. We respect you. We are so happy that you are part of our team and our community. So thank you, Gerda. May you rest well this evening. And as we wrap up this evening, I want to say again, I will look after me for you. Will you please look after you for me and all of us?
Good night, Gideon. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.